Did it do it? It's preparing. Yay, did it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for Wednesday, October 30th. This is the spookiest edition of wasmCloud Wednesday of the year. So spooky, we have a sneaky surprise demo that's coming into our community meeting. So I will share the full agenda in just a moment, but since it's not on there, not gonna give you whiplash. Enzo, would you mind doing a little bit of I don't know if you've introduced yourself on the community call before. Would you mind doing just like a quick introduction and then talk about what you are going to show us today?
Yeah, basically, I'm just a random guy interested in Wasm. um, on my personal life, I was working in cloud providers, European cloud providers, Scaleway. No, I mean in a startup, but the work I do with wasmCloud is unrelated to that. Even if I would like to see wasmCloud and Wasm technology in general integrated in my work. Yeah, basically, I've been following wasmCloud since a long time, but I needed to move, so I couldn't contribute yet. I changed work, I moved place, so it was a bit messy. But there I am. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And so there's been a lot of it's been kind of a lot of new stuff coming down the pipe in the Rust ecosystem lately, like the Wasm 32 WASI 2 target is now unstable, which is huge. And you've been working on an integration in the Leptos project.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. Do you want me to go ahead and explain a bit? Or
Yeah, that would be great. You should have screen sharing permission, so
yeah,
feel free to share. But yeah, take it away.
yeah. Just tell me if it's working because I'm using the web app, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see a super handsome guy.
Yeah.
No editor yet.
So yeah, basically, I will try to introduce Leptos quickly, but basically it's a full stack framework to do backend and frontend in a single Rust code base. I know I said Rust and frontend, but I will show you if you're not familiar with that. Basically, what it does is that it has a plugin that use the same single Rust code base and build two assets, the server side and the client side. And by default, it didn't support building the server side as a Wasm component. That's basically what I've been doing since a month. And I didn't touch the client side, but it was already WebAssembly. So the Leptos project already run WebAssembly with really thin JS to load it in the browser and so on. So I wanted to make it full Wasm, basically. And then my work for now has been focused on using standard because wasmCloud is standard forward. I don't remember who said me that one time, but basically we prefer to work first with the standard and then do our own stuff on the side, but we try to stay focused on the standard. So that's what I did. And I used two WASI contracts in my work. I use WASI file system to serve the static assets in the browser, and I use WASI HTTP to serve the server, basically. So that's how it looks like. It's a super dead simple reactive application, web application that is running full on Wasm. I wanted to see how we could use Wasm and WebAssembly server side, how we could use it to really build super quickly website. And I think Leptos is the most straightforward way I found. Quickly, I want to show you some code so you can have a grasp of how it works. Basically, you have, as I said, a single code base. You have a mix of HTML, init, and server-side function. So these annotation make the function a server-side API. And yeah, basically that's it. There is a get count that, if you can see, use WASI bindings. So it's really running, I was not joking, in Wasm. And yeah, basically it's a dead simple update count as you click and get the count. So you can see if I reload, it's persistent. It's actually using super dumb file. If I found it, I don't remember where it is stored, but yeah, they are stored text. Text is just using basic WASI file system to persist. So if I put 30 there, and then I refresh, it refresh. So basically, that's it. Last thing I can show you is that I actually built async runtime because Leptos is capable of streaming the answer, so the HTML elements. It's capable of streaming it as elements become available. So since Wasm is single-threaded, I had to build a special async to make it run on a single thread. And basically, we'll see that even if I had a sleep of 1 second, it won't block. The page is still bloated. Oh, I didn't rebuild, sorry. There we go. And now you see there is a 1 second wait before it actually gets updated. So the Wasm server is actually streaming down the response. Like I get the page with a placeholder saying loading star count, but the component is streaming the response. And that works because I have this async runtime. Yeah, and basically you can see the output of Wasm time. So I wasn't lying, it's really running in Wasm again. That's basically it. For now, you can't really use it because it's already work in progress. I'm working with Leptos. I'm really working with Leptos maintainers to make it work. But yeah, basically, when it's ready, I will probably write a message on wasmCloud Slack. So if anyone is interested in using it, feel free. Thanks for the link, Brooke.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind that I sent right to the PR. But yeah, this is awesome. So if I understand from your diagram right, you're using the Leptos framework just normally,
You
from
want me
your
to show it back or?
sure, yeah, that would be great. So you have the
Yeah.
diagram here. Would you mind zooming in just a little bit? So you have the Rust code base and you run cargo leptos build, and that goes through like the leptos build chain, and you produce all of the client side assets, which is probably just what leptos was already doing. And
Yeah,
then
you can see it there, site./package. You can see there is 1, 2, 3 asset and this .txt that I use to store the counter. And actually, if I refresh it, not too much because the context deadline happened, but
yeah,
you can see it's serving the 3 assets there.
Okay. And then the server side component is like the big piece that you've been working on. So serving that in Wasm time. And
Exactly.
that is this is so cool. This is the first I mean maybe not the first. This is definitely the nicest experience I've seen for a project to like write a web app and then to create this like discrete client server side like set of assets, and then like you can take that and serve it up however you'd like with your whole client, or like with a CDN and then like a
Yeah,
server.
exactly. Yeah, actually, since you mentioned that, so in the basic framework that I built, user can provide a self-static file. So it means you can choose the logic on how to deliver the static assets. For now, it's file system because I'm only using Wasm time, but the end goal is to use Wasm Cloud providers to actually fetch the static file from S3, for example. So you could totally host things on S3 and load it using the Wasm Cloud blob store provider, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, yeah, that sounds right. You so instead of, well, not instead of, you could still certainly use it in Wasm time, but going to wasmCloud, you're thinking like using the blob store interface, you could store it or you could serve it from files locally, and then graduate to pulling the files out of S3 for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do the same. You can use Wasm Cloud Provider in the server function as well. So tomorrow, if you want to, I see now you have a Couchbase integration. If tomorrow you want your server side to do NoSQL, you just do it there and it's working like a charm. You just have to configure the provider, but
Yeah, this is awesome. I can't wait to play with this. I've got maybe another question, but I don't I do a pretty good job of monopolizing all the time, trying to get better at that. Do folks have other questions about this work?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So awesome. I mean, I played around with letters and it's very easy to get into it if you're a React developer, the concepts and so to understand that. What did you have to change to actually make async work? What's the kind of things that you can potentially then get rid of if WASI P3 comes out?
Well, basically, you need an executor, right, to run your async. Today, it's really hard to have a. So I would say it's if you look at the work that is made on integrating the target, so the WASIP target to Tokyo, MIO, and all these crates, it doesn't really support natively waiting on pollable, right? So which is the async we have in P2 basically. Every time you do IO, you use pollables, and I will just try to show you quickly if I found it. But basically, what I did is a simple wrapper. So you just wait, it will be simpler to show you this. So the sleep function that I use in the server-side function, it used the type that I introduce in the integration crate that is wait poll new. You give it a pollable, and it will just await it without blocking the thread. So basically, it's a super simple executor. It's 280 line of code, and it's leveraging the futures crate. Now about how it will like with WASI-P3, honestly, I didn't check on that yet. I don't know if there is way I could learn about the ongoing work of the preview 3, but indeed, if I could integrate it later, it would be great. But I need to learn a bit about it now.
Thanks.
Yeah, a big part of preview of what's going to be coming in with preview 3 is native async support in the component model. And I think a big impact of that, like constraining it to where we are here, is that the pollables model will basically be replaced with async functions and then being able to just await them. So, preview 3 isn't here yet, but I know that there's been a ton of good work there on the async support. So I would expect that would make a lot of this handling of pollables a whole lot simpler.
Yeah, and probably faster too, because I mean, basically what I'm doing is running until there is a stall or there is or between every feature. Every time a feature is done, I can check if pollable are ready, or there is another mode that is stall mode, that is when no more feature can run, I check if pollable is ready. But probably we can do that better using WASI-P3. Yeah, basically that's it. You had another question, Brooke?
Awesome. Yeah, my last question was really just with all the work, I'm really excited to follow along. Is there anything that you're blocked on that you may want to, get a broader audience of rustaceans around, or something that you've run into if you're getting to integrating this into wasmCloud that you want some extra input on, or are you pretty good for now?
For now, the biggest blocker has been this executor. I asked Joel Dice, well-known Joel Dice, about how things work with spin. And he was kind enough to explain me a bit, to point me to how it works in Spin SDK. And basically, I take inspiration and try to rewrite that, because I didn't find a single standard crate to do that. That was my biggest blocker, but Prustacine already were kind enough to help me. And yeah, I run into super weird low-level errors that I made a blog post about. It was an error in Rustlang. Yeah, once everything is merged and that works nice, it's integrated into Laptos organization and everything, I can start to work on integration. For example, how would that integrate with WashDev to have auto reloading? And this type of question I need to think about, because front-end developers are really used to this hot reloading stuff. So it would be really awesome to make it work with WashDev.
Yeah, awesome. Well, as you get there, please keep us in the loop. I look forward to seeing updates like in the Rust channel on the wasmCloud side. So and thank you for coming on and doing a demo. It's awesome.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. Hey, folks. Well, I think probably in the interest of time, we should move on because we have 2 more demos and a couple of discussion items. But I mean, you can find all of us in the wasmCloud Slack if you have more questions. Okay, now I will definitely share the agenda for today. If I can get this right. Share my whole screen because I'll transition right into my demo. We've got a demo of the wasmCloud component crate v2, which includes some HTTP wrappers, and you'll see why that's awesome here in a minute. We'll get on to a demo and discussion around Whackage, which Taylor's come on and talked about in the community meeting a couple times before, but more and more things there. And then we'll get on to checking into our roadmap and where you can find us at WasmCon and KubeCon here in like 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, it is very close. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to show is you all know that we've been working on our quick start for wasmCloud. You may have seen some of the improvements there on the Go side come through with the wasmCloud component SDK, or the wasmCloud component SDK Go. And we've been working on essentially something it's very similar on the Rust side. And a lot of this was spurred by the changes that have come in, the support for WASM32, WASIP2 on the stable tool chain in Rust just really makes it a nicer experience to start a project and then to start a project and then be able to just compile it with or without wash build. And I want to show you what the experience of writing HTTP and a component that for wasmCloud looks like now. So I can generate a new component. We'll do our Rust component. And so basically this has been pushed to our documentation site and the project template. But if you take a look inside of this cargo.toml now, we now have a dependency on wasmCloud component. And this is a crate that's been published upstream. Let me see if Rust Analyzer can actually start. And what we've included, what we had in version 1 of the wasmCloud component crate was essentially generated bindings for WASI and wasmCloud interfaces. So you don't have to call the whip-bind-gen piece. Under the hood, we're actually just proxying all of the generated interfaces for WASI to the WASI crate. So if you just wanted to use WASI interfaces, you can just use the WASI crate or WASI library, which is just a crate that they publish. And then for some of the WASI Cloud interfaces and for the wasmCloud interfaces, we'll do that generated bindings bit. So instead of using WebBindGen, you can use the wasmCloud component crate. Now we've added a good set of wrappers and helpers in the latest version, which drastically simplifies the experience of writing an HTTP server in Rust. So this is the full component code. This may look familiar to a couple of different implementations for like an HTTP server in Rust. but it is a much simpler abstraction for creating an HTTP server. So instead of using the WASI interface directly, we can implement this trait, this HTTP server trait, that takes an incoming request, and in response, you can return an HTTP response, and then the error type is actually a WASI-IO error code, WASI HTTP error code. Now, what's really awesome about these types here is they are not just random types that we've implemented. This incoming request is actually a non-generic version of the HTTP crates request, which HTTP crate is like the standard. It's basically as close as you can get for standard HTTP types in Rust. And the response type is actually the HTTP response type. So when you're working with this functionality in a component, I've just ran wash dev, for example, to set up my local development environment. What we can do is just return a new HTTP response with my body. And the body is implemented for a string, for a vec of bytes, for even a WASI stream. And so actually writing the component itself requires a whole lot less friction in terms of making sure that you're dealing with streams correctly, making sure you're dropping the right resources at the right time. And that's all implemented under the hood with this HTTP server trait. So if you take a look at the actual crate page, we've included some of this information in our README, but the way that this is organized is in the HTTP module. We have all of these helper functions. The export macro, which is very similar to the WASI HTTP proxy macro. We're trying to make the code look as similar as possible and be just completely compatible with the standard. And there were a couple of, structs which have been re-exported from the HTTP crate. So taking a look at what this looks like to work with, if I wanted to do something with the incoming body, I can do something like they do this all the time in the HTTP library. We can turn the request into its parts. So we can get the parts is basically like the method and the URI and the path, and then the body is actually an incoming body, which for us, since we're in a component land, this actually is an input stream and an incoming body from WASI, but we can work with it just like a normal HTTP body. So if I wanted to do something like hello from path, I can get the parts URI path, which is the actual path that came back on the request. So if I say community meeting, you can get hello from /community meeting. This is all just, this is completely interoperable with code that's built in terms of the HTTP crate. So very nice experience here from the initial interface. Very nice experience from the idea of of working with a more idiomatic experience. One other thing that we've done, which is definitely important, is to still work out of the box with streams. So one big thing that you can do if you're working at a low level with WASI interfaces is you can use the WASI-IO streams to make sure that you're not allocating an entire buffer of bytes into memory every time you want to like stream a large file. So what we've done for this is an example of a component that will basically echo back the entire body that you send it to the user. And so what this does is basically just reads the body of the incoming request, and we'll stream that right back out to the HTTP response. And it doesn't actually load the entire byte vector into memory to do it. So it's really important for us to be compatible with WASI crates, be compatible with WASI interfaces and streams. provide a nicer experience for HTTP, and have something that we're eventually just going to get rid of. And I think that sounds kind of drastic, but the entire interface here was inspired by the WASI 0.3, WASI HTTP 0.3 interface. And if you see, this function signature looks a whole lot similar to what we've done, because that is what we are trying to target, like this nicer HTTP interface. So taking a request and returning a response. So sorry, I saw that chat, but I didn't actually see all of the questions. But the real TLDR here is that this is going to make writing HTTP components a whole lot simpler. I think it's worth noting, I tried to set up the community meeting. I think it's worth noting, if this is a wasmCloud component crate, but if you crack open this, why has this not been working? If you crack open this component and you take a look at the WIT, all of this abstraction and wrapper is boiling down to exporting WASI HTTP incoming handler still. So
Hey, Brooks,
what?
run wasm time serve with that. What
Okay,
happens?
great. So if you, instead of running this in wasmCloud, run wasm times serve, making sure to turn on the HTTP interfaces and all the things, you can curl localhost 8080 with our body. I should have just copied this instead of typing in a half terminal window, and we get the same response back. So, all of this is still speaking WASI HTTP once you get down to the component level. The magic behind the curtain is actually pretty easy to understand. We implement the WASI HTTP incoming handler for any type that implements the HTTP server trait. And all we do is the conversion from those WASI types to the native crate HTTP types. Okay. Yes, that I hope to do a good job at emphasizing all of the things that inspired us as we were writing this. This is not a novel idea. This is something that occurred to us quite a long time ago, that we could abstract the WASI bits away from the Rust side. Of course, the target becoming stable in Rust certainly made this a little bit easier, a little more something that we would want to just, that is something else I can share. Hold on. A little something that we just wanted to do more quickly. But I think that our original motivation of wanting to stay completely with the generated interfaces is kind of mitigated completely by just using the interfaces behind a nicer abstraction. So one thing that you saw me do, which was, run wash build to compile this component. It's worth noting that you can also run cargo build and target wasm32 wasip2, which I guess didn't directly happen here. We can wait for the Rust build. So you can use the just regular cargo toolchain to build to wasm32 wasip2. And then wasm times serve this again from I did debug wasm32 debug.wasm. And this works exactly the same. So you don't actually need, with wasmCloud, what our whole mission here is going to be is providing a really nice experience and being completely speaking standards under the hood, so much so that you don't even need wasmCloud tools to run this component that's running with wasmCloud component. Awesome. Okay, great. I think I talked for maybe a little too long there, but did that answer the question, Taylor? You said
Yeah, it did. I mean, and it leads straight into where I'm going with my demo as well. Basically, wasmCloud is always standards forward, and we take two paths with everything. One of them is something like this, where we have an HTTP wrapper where we know that, like, hey, this is going to go away probably in the next 6 months, but we want to have it until that's ready. And so that's one thing that happens. The other thing is we sometimes pilot things, and then once we have it working, we upstream it if it's something new. And so everything is always on top of the standards that exist, and then we oftentimes will expand and then contribute those up to the standards, because you, all of our wonderful community members, are the ones using this and giving us these great pieces of feedback. So that's something that's really important to us. So anyway, well, I can go ahead and go into my demo. Mine is a terminal demo because
I just have a small little
oh
question.
yeah, go ahead, Enzo. Sorry.
For people really concerned about not including wasmCloud bits, would it be possible to have a feature flag maybe that gate every wasmCloud specific behind the feature flag?
Let me check the actual crate. We do have a set of feature flags, like you can turn off the HTTP bit if you wanted. It actually doesn't look like what we have today lets you do this. Like you can turn off the HTTP bit or bringing in different dependencies. But I think that would be that'd be a great bit to add. So if you turned off the wasmCloud, if you turned off the wasmCloud feature flag, I think you would basically be left with the WASI crate. So, folks who are looking to build components now and looking for the like nicer bindings and like standard trait implementations can also just use the WASI crate instead of this wasmCloud component crate.
Yeah, okay.
But I do, sorry, that was a suggestion for people now, not saying that we shouldn't do your suggestion. I really like
No,
the
I'm
idea
just
of
thinking.
having.
Sorry. No, I'm just thinking about, for example, in my case, the demo I just saw, I basically did myself the HTTP wrapping logic and all of this stuff to have this nice abstraction. But at the end of the day, I could use your abstraction without ASI, except in the name, but there wouldn't be any wasmCloud bits in it, basically. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So that could be cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can use just the HTTP abstraction without any wasmCloud bits, but we can look into a feature flag to say something like WASI only, or enable wasmCloud that actually would allow you to, if you didn't have that feature flag enabled, then you couldn't bring in any wasmCloud bits.
Sorry, Taylor.
No, you're good. These are good. These are good questions to have it.
I was actually going to say too, just at the end of the demo, if anybody wants to try this out now, it's actually live on our quick start. So if you want to go through the kind of the flow that I just went through with Wash Dev and the new component SDK and everything, you can just run through the quick start on wasmcloud.com. It's all there, and you can get a feel for how it feels like to write that code. And now for the weather. Back to Taylor, for real this time.
Well, over here, if you're coming to KubeCon, the weather is likely to be in the mid 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry, I shouldn't do these things. Okay, let's go ahead and terminal share. Yay! Okay. What I'm going to show today is stuff I've shown before, but now live in Wash. So something we've been working on with the writer community, as well as a tool called Whackage, which you do not need to know about or install if you have the Wash stuff installed for and are you doing wasmCloud things, because we've integrated it in. The main thing here is that it basically auto manages your dependencies, because you pretty much declare your dependencies in a world file. So when, like, let's take ye old lobby, which we've used a lot of, right? And if we look at the world, like we say in here, exactly, hey, I'm going to import WASI blob store, and I'm going to export the HTTP, and I'm importing logging, and there's a whole bunch of things that go into that. So you've already declared your dependency. So the idea is, let's make this as easy as possible for people to do. So what will happen is you can now just run, and I'll actually remove the depster so you know this is happening. So if I do with deps, okay. So if I treat it, you'll just see it's just the world file. You can start with that. And then if I run a wash build, it'll automatically fetch the dependencies underneath the hood. So you can see it built. So obviously the width's there. And if we look at the width stuff again, you'll see that it downloaded all the proper dependencies for you automatically. These are locked inside of a wasmCloud.lock file right here that tells you like which thing it fetched down at the SHA that it was there. And then oops, Q, not Control C. That happens sometimes. Now, all of this can be defined or overridden as well inside of wasmCloud.toml. An example of this is, let's see, image processor worker. So this one, for example, we look at the wasmCloud.toml file. Oops, it's not that one. It might be. I always mess up which one it is. It is, oh, sorry, it's the task manager. Man, which one is it? I have been messing around so much with this, I've lost my way. You can specify these things locally as well. So you can do an override, which is what I'm attempting to show. And I thought it was one of those, but I might have missed it or modified it locally. But you're able to pass in overrides for this. And these overrides let you actually SQLDB Postgres query might have it too. But anyway, you're able to override these inside of your wasmCloud.toml. So if I actually open this up and just edit it, I can say things like, and I can go down here and say, something like that, and I can override dependencies and be able to pull it in through there. So all of this stuff is inside the wasmCloud.toml. So anyway, this magically works if you remove your current deps.toml file from your dependencies, from your wit file or wit folder. So if you see like a deps.toml, if washi's a deps.toml, it won't do this, but all you have to do is just remove that, and then it will basically take control of the deps directory and download these for you. So one of the things that we put that in for is there are a few little caveats and exceptions that I just want to let people know. So when we fetch the dependencies, we actually make sure all your dependencies resolve properly, so that it will work for you. And what happens with WRPC, one of the couple of the WRPC interfaces, because we're already using some of the new types that'll be coming in WASI Preview 3, such as stream. WRPC knows about that, but the mainline tooling does not yet. So because of that, we do not, on some of the providers, you might have issues. So the caveat here is you can actually build a good chunk of providers. So if I go up and pull up one of the providers, oops, believe this one has it gone yet. Okay, so this one, like for the NATS messaging provider example, I can actually do a wash build in here, and it will fetch the dependencies just like you'd expect, and then build it, which we're not going to watch the whole Rust build right now. But if I look at the tree for that, we'll see that it's pulled down wasmCloud messaging and done the right thing. But there's those few exceptions there. So if you don't want to migrate yet, that's perfectly fine. You can still use wet deps. You just include your deps.toml. The other thing we're working on here is that configuration. We've made sure that it searches the standard configs path that you'd find, but it also searches config paths that are within the wash directory. But as we've heard feedback from most people using this, what we're going to be doing is trying to simplify that config and make it easier for custom mappings, because this is using the underlying whackage configuration files as well, if they're present. So what we want to do is make that a little bit cleaner and easier for people to use. There's been a lot of brainstorming around that, but that's kind of the next steps here. So if you're doing anything with the standard WASI or wasmCloud interfaces, this will just pretty much work for you out of the box as long as you have public internet access. And so that was the goal here. Keep it as easy as possible so you don't really have to think about pulling down the interfaces you need. And then we're trying to make the configuration step easier. You can still configure it right now to point at local, or sorry, not local, like internal registries at larger companies. But we're trying to make that so that it's actually configurable within the wasmCloud.toml file. So there's one place. That was one of the pieces of feedback that we got. And then also that it is just a simpler config format. So we've been doing a lot of work upstream as well to make this possible, simplifying which kind of things we're supporting. So pretty much this will just pull down from OCI for you and have it ready to go pretty much out of the box. So that's how this all works. Pretty much every wash build step will do this for you, no matter the language. It'll make sure the deps are in place. And then the language toolchain takes over from there to do all the generation and other things that it needs to do. So that is what released recently with the caveats and the future plans. And then any questions?
Hey, Taylor, did you touch on the bit, which I apologize if I missed this, where if you have like a deps.toml and a deps.lock already in there, then Whackage will just let you, you can use the existing WitDeps stuff as is.
Yes, that's correct. So there are, like, if we go to, I think, yeah, no, one more. This would be in bin, where I always forget the provider locations. They are in main, source main, right? So AD source, blob store, FS provider. I believe this one, true. This one might, I can't remember, we have our wasmCloud.toml files for that right now, but there are a few in there that have like deps.toml specifically because we have those deps that are using stream. Once we figure that out, we'll make it pretty easy to use. So anyway, that is, and then to answer the question out loud, this is currently available in Wash 0.36. So give it a try. It's pretty easy. Like, you can try it out by just removing your deps.toml, seeing what happens. The only thing be aware of, which we can create a converter for this if people think it would be worth it. We could probably add a conversion step that takes like a deps.toml like .path file and then converts it into the proper thing in your wasmCloud.toml. That's the only thing you might have to change, but it's pretty easy. You remove the deps.toml, run wash build or wash wit deps. We might change this name based on some feedback we've had, but you can do wash wit deps as well to fetch just do the dependency fetching step. And you can run that. It should replace everything. And then if it doesn't work, you can always just get checkout on that path again to make sure you're back to where you were. If you move over to this, you don't have to commit your deps directories. You can. You can go either way. Some people like to have those vendored, some people don't, but you don't have to commit your deps directory with the new style, because someone will run it on their machine, it'll pull it down, get the dependencies in the right place and run. Dependencies get cached locally, so as soon as you pull it down once, it'll just be able to pull from that cache. Okay. That's it from my side. There will be docs hopefully landing soon for this. They're written. We're just working through some little kinks, and then we'll try to get those out relatively soon. So yeah, just something there, trying to make that developer experience even nicer, and we'll make it even better. Once again, we're going to do that thing of we're going to try making this a lot easier in Wash, and then use those experiences we get from people and upstream them back up into the normal config for the Whackage side of things as well. So it's a very synergistic relationship here. That's kind of the future. So Brooks, back to you with local news.
Amazing. I'll stop putting random things in the chat then. All right, folks. Well, kind of getting to the end here. We have two more quick discussion items. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that up. Are those up? Where is Arc? There is Arc. So on the check-in here, so awesome demos today, everyone. Checking in on the Q4 roadmap, the community roadmap that we planned a few weeks ago. Things are looking really good. I'll start from the bottom because that's more fun. We've closed a couple of issues here. The component SDK Go is released. Deprecating wash app list in favor of wash app get is getting done. I think that was actually contributed by Mark on the community side. So add one to community contributed roadmap features. wasmCloud.toml can now exist in a different directory than the build directory and the gin directory and the wit directory. So, if you're structuring out your own project and you want to, push all the wasmCloud bits into a different folder, for example, that's now totally accessible and just very nice for like repo cleanliness. Um, in terms of what we have gotten started on, whether it's on the maintainer or contributor side, we have a PR open for a host running multiple lattices, so supporting multiple different networking namespace, which is awesome. There is a new community contributor who's kind of swung in and is working on clap tab autocomplete for resources in wasmCloud. So like you can say wash app deploy, and then if the app name is Rust Hello World, you can type RU and hit tab, and then you get that. Super nice. Like that's gonna save me, it's gonna save everybody a copy paste round trip in the terminal, which is huge. So I'm super excited that that's coming. We're working on benchmarks in a couple of different ways, micro benchmarks, integration suite, which is awesome. A community contributor is also putting forth human time values instead of milliseconds on the CLI, which is going to be another just huge improvement to be able to write, for a component's memory, or that's not time, to say it'll time out in 1 second instead of 1,000 milliseconds. Kind of just nice. Our quick start is a whole lot better already. The whole quick start flow for Rust and Go is looking amazing. There's a couple more things we want to close out there before we call it good, but all that is going great. So we've, I think, officially passed the point. Okay, we're exactly tied with stuff that we've planned that is ready to start and that has already started or been completed. So I think that the quarter, I mean, being a month in, quarter four roadmap is going really, really great. So if there's anything on here that folks are interested in taking or need some more information on, please feel free to reach out to the maintainers or come ask us in the community call. As a reminder, you can always go to github.com/wasmcloud/contribute. wasmcloud/contribute. And this will show you where all of the good first issues are for our wasmCloud repository. So this is a great place to get started if you're looking to contribute. All right. And then other than that, I don't know if I have the graphic ready right now. I will have it next week, I super promise. But please keep an eye out. WasmCon and KubeCon are coming up in just about 2 weeks. Many of us on the wasmCloud maintainer side are going to be there. We have a wasmCloud booth in the project pavilion. So if you go and see, if anybody's going to be in Salt Lake City, if you go to the project pavilion where all the cloud native projects are, or all the CNCF projects are, we will be there, hopefully for a long time, but definitely during the booth crawl. We will also probably be hanging out at the Cosmonic booth when we are not at the wasmCloud booth. I think other than that, it's probably worth next week we'll do a full rundown of all of the talks where wasmCloud appears during the conference, and then you can make sure to add it to your schedule and go. So just general call out if anybody's going to Salt Lake City and wants to meet up. I'm sure we will do a happy hour or at least hang out at the booth crawl for a little while. So please come find us. Love to meet people in person. Okay. Apologies for not having the exact booth location, but it's okay. Everybody just looks that up the day of, right?
I have a picture somewhere. If you give me 10 seconds. Well, we'll be honest. Lachlan created it, but Lachlan is not here, or he would have pulled it up. Let me see if I can find.
We have a blog for the show. Wow. Look at that. So thank you, Caroline, for saving us from embarrassment in the community meeting. So we've got a nice little pre-show blog here that notes where the wasmCloud project booth is, which is going to be 2B, and then the Cosmonic booth in T35. And we'll have some wasmCloud swag and stuff all over the place.
Scroll to the bottom to show that. There's a map.
Wow, look at us. Look at us right over there. Here and here. Not even that far. Um, great. Great, great, great. Man, this is making me so happy. I should just start bringing up things that I wish were solved on the community meeting, and then hopefully somebody will just be like, "Hey, here's the place that I fixed it." Okay. Anyways, hey. So this actually does have this breakdown of all of the talks that we will be at, which is awesome. Um, the one maybe we should do a full rundown of these. I'm okay with doing that next week. The thing I'd certainly want to call out for folks who are looking to get involved with wasmCloud is the Contrib Fest session for wasmCloud. This is huge for us to have a slot in. We'll have 90 minutes in one of the larger pavilions at the conference where folks can come and get a feel for wasmCloud if you're looking to just get used to the wasmCloud project for the first time. What this Contrib Fest session is for maintainers and contributors alike to get together and work on, existing technical debt, good first issues, and what it's most useful for, and what inspires me the most is I think we're going to have a lot of people come and contribute to the wasmCloud project. So I'm very, very excited for this session. This is a great time, anybody in the call or anybody watching, if you want to contribute to a project for the first time, I would highly recommend checking out all of these Contrib Fest sessions. I mean, there's ones for Kubernetes, there's ones for I don't have any other examples, all kinds of projects in the cloud native space, but I think there's maybe 10 of them. So I feel super honored to have a slot for wasmCloud at KubeCon for this. All right,
And
folks.
also, WasmCon's going to be sick. Like, there are so many good talks. I think actually on the browser side, I'm curious and interested because I saw a couple different taking WebAssembly and running it. I love your dog. And running it in the browser. And Mindy's been working on browser.wit, and I know Calvin is working on a pretty cool demo for that. So like, I can't wait to see that. I think I have a session at the same time, so I'm not going to get to see it live. So I'll be watching the video just like everybody else. But yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, where's my dog?
We need to have like a dog session.
We need a pet corner on the Slack.
Yeah, we do. We can get that made. We can make that happen. All right, folks. Well, we got a couple more minutes. I think now is good a time as any for any general wasmCloud questions or questions about the broader WebAssembly ecosystem. Folks, if you have topics you'd like to bring up in the free time, really just go for it. You can raise your hand, unmute, give a hand signal. Hey, hand signal. Suit.
Hello. This is regarding what Taylor was showing. Does it work, or are there any plans to make it work also with private repo? Let's say if you have custom interfaces that you want to mix with WASI interfaces in an implementation, how do we go about pulling their dependencies?
So there is in the docs here, I'll link the PR. Let me pull this up. It has instructions on how like you can build and push and everything. Though, like I said, we're just working on some stuff there, but it shows how you can push it somewhere. And then we already have people who are using this for internal registries as well. There is a config file. There is a standard config format we're using, like I said, from Whackage. We're going to try to embed this into wasmCloud.toml, but you can also drop your config in the wash directory as well. That has links to all the places where you can get like the configuration options. So you just pretty much have to say like, hey, this like namespace. So if you have like your custom one, you'd say like custom : so the custom namespace would map to a specific registry, and then you can pull it down from that registry. You can also override with like local path dependencies. So Both of those things are possible right now. It's not like I'm going to be honest, like, and I helped write some of this stuff. So like, it's kind of ugly, some of it, the config. Once you understand it, you're like, okay, I see it, but it's not like the nicest. And so that's why we're going to try to put it into wasmCloud.toml in something that's a little bit nicer of a way of doing it. And it's inside of wasmCloud.toml in conjunction with the open tooling. So all of those things will be possible, even nicer in the future, but they're possible now too.
Awesome. And one more question. The cache update. To update the cache, do we need to delete the local copy, or Wash is intelligent enough to figure that out?
So if you're using a local dependency, it literally just points at the local dependency. Like it'll copy that, so that like that'll invalid that's not cached because it's pulling already from disk. The stuff that's pulling from upstream, those are currently just you would have to remove it if you want to invalidate everything, but those are generally versioned things. So you have like 020, 021, and each of those are different and have different SHAs. So it does it based off of the SHA that is being pulled. So you can always remove your wasmCloud.lock if the SHA is going to be different, and it'll pull the SHA from a different location when it tries to fetch the dependency again.
Thanks.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing, some of the more advanced, or, some of the use cases that people would run into like immediately with a custom registry and everything into it. I think that's really important. And I think captured in the docs. They will merge soon.
Well, you might see it next week being used.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks. Well, that puts us right at 2:00. The top of the hour. Oh, yeah, Enzo.
No, I just wanted to say, have fun at KubeCon. I won't be there. It's in the US, but have fun.
Well, hey, maybe KubeCon EU will be there too next year.
Hopefully.
It could happen. It's not that far. Wasm.io? Where's Wasm.io going to be?
Arsa again.
Okay, nice.
Same place, same time, every time. It is consistent.
Yeah.
There's worse places you could go than Barcelona to have a standing conference.
Okay, I've got to jump to another meeting, but see you all later. I'll let you all keep talking.
Yeah.
All right. This is probably the time. Well, thank you all for coming. Awesome set of demos and discussions today. I don't know. That's it. We'll see you next week.
Definitely the most